Everyone knows how intelligent, understanding, and loyal domestic animals can be. They perfectly recognize who treats them with kindness and warmth. But what about wild animals? Are dangerous predators capable of recognizing kindness and being grateful for it? This is what we'll tell you about in our incredible story. It all started when the hero of this story, an elderly man, came across a very young wolf in the forest. The pensioner immediately realized something was wrong. The wolf was very thin and weak. Moreover, it didn't even try to run away as if it lacked the strength to do so. There was no sign of a she-wolf nearby. Then our hero saw that the animal's paw was stuck in an old, rusty trap left behind from a long-ago hunt. The pensioner knew he couldn't leave the wolf cub to its fate. The animal was already so weak that it was unlikely to resist anything, and it certainly posed no danger. How long the beast had been in the trap was unknown, but most likely it had been there for a very long time. The man freed the wolf's paw and managed to put something like a splint on it, as the limb was broken. It would take a long time before the animal could return to the forest and take care of itself, so our hero took the wolf, whom he named Gray, home with him. Of course, the animal had predatory instincts, but gradually the wolf got used to its savior. It never showed a drop of aggression toward the man. It seemed the wolf perfectly understood that it had survived only thanks to the pensioner. Even toward the man's grandson, who occasionally visited, the beast was completely calm. Of course, it still couldn't be compared to a regular dog, but it posed no danger either. This unusual pet now lived with our hero, but one day the animal disappeared. Most likely its instincts had eventually taken over and the wolf had returned to the forest. The pensioner always knew this would happen someday, so he quickly came to terms with the absence of his unusual four-legged friend. But sometimes the man still felt very lonely without Gray. They had grown accustomed to each other and had become friends. The old man thought, and was even sure, that he would never see Gray again. Why would a predator ever return? Now it lived in its natural environment, and that was the best place for it. Despite his sadness, the old man was happy for Gray. Time passed, and one day something terrible happened. The boy had come to visit his grandfather again and went for a walk in the forest. He said he wouldn't stay long, but it had already gotten dark, and he still hadn't returned home. The old man, genuinely frightened, immediately went out to search. Although the boy knew these places well, anything could have happened. Why had he been gone for so long? Did he not realize how late it was? The old man walked all the familiar paths but found nothing. There was no sign that the boy had been there, no trace at all. It was frightening and confusing. Almost in despair, the pensioner suddenly heard something approaching quickly. But it wasn't the child. It was an animal. Then the old man saw a wolf, the very one he had once saved and tamed. Yes, it was Gray, now fully grown. The man recognized him because he still limped on his front paw. The wolf wasn't going to attack. It didn't seem aggressive or angry. At first, the beast just stood and looked at the man. Then, apparently not getting the reaction it needed, it turned and trudged into the forest, looking back as if it wanted the man to follow. That's exactly what our hero did. The beast walked in a certain direction, periodically looking back at the pensioner, who simply followed. The man didn't know if he was doing the right thing. Did the predator really want him to go that way? What if he was following the wolf in vain, wasting time when he could be searching elsewhere? But they didn't walk for long. Suddenly, there was a rustle in the bushes, and the grandfather's grandson ran out to him. The boy was very scared, but at the same time he was overjoyed to have been found. Our hero's joy knew no bounds. How could he have doubted whether he should follow the wolf? After all, this was his friend, the one who perfectly remembered the kindness and compassion shown to him. Now the wolf was simply returning the favor. By the time the old man turned to thank the predator, Gray was already gone. It all seemed incredible. The man could hardly believe that he had found his grandson or that his four-legged friend had helped him. Would they ever meet again? Now it seemed quite possible. Yes, a wolf is a wild animal, and it's no secret that this beast can be very dangerous. It will never behave like a regular domestic pet. However, this story proves that even wild animals are capable of understanding kindness, remembering it, and showing gratitude. See you soon.